You walk into a crowded room, look across the floor, and immediately lock eyes with someone you find incredibly attractive. In that split second, your brain starts searching for an invitation. You watch for a quick smile, a slight tilt of the head, or shoulders turning in your direction. But instead of those warm social cues, you get nothing. Their face goes perfectly blank, their body stays entirely still, and they look away, focusing on anything else in the room. It is incredibly easy to read this reaction as a clear message. When someone does not offer a single physical sign of engagement, the logical conclusion is that they simply do not want to talk to you. So you drop it. You write off the interaction, turn around, and walk away. We rely completely on these visible social gestures to tell us who is open to connection. Because of that reliance, we routinely walk right past people who are actually desperate for us to come over and say hello. If you could see inside that other person's head during that brief stare, the picture would look entirely different. Far from being bored, their mind is consumed by an intense, overwhelming attraction to you. Social researchers have a specific term for this severe mismatch between inner feeling and outward behavior. They call it the no-signal phenomenon, a state of extreme behavioral inhibition where an individual actively displays zero physical signs of interest. By using long-term, covert video surveillance in natural social settings, scientists confirmed this perfectly blank reaction is highly predictable. It consistently happens in the unilateral observation phase, which is the critical window of time right before any actual conversation begins. This intense focus creates a freeze zone. Their hyperactive brain processes so much information, it forces the body to suppress outward movement. This active, involuntary physical lockup is the nervous system's attempt to achieve absolute zero communication, revealing nothing to the outside world. What looks from the outside like casual indifference is actually a biological state of maximum internal cognitive engagement. You might assume this freezing behavior happens because the person is terrified you will reject them, but the data shows fear of rejection is not the primary driver. The real mechanism behind the freeze is a crushing internal pressure to achieve behavioral perfection, the overwhelming desire to flawlessly execute the upcoming social interaction without making a single mistake. Inside their head, the stakes feel astronomically high. They calculate every tiny physical action, whether it is a small wave or a single step forward, carries a massive social risk. They worry any movement might appear awkward and ruin their chances. To cope with that risk, they deploy the zero-signal strategy. This is a sophisticated defensive mechanism used to protect their perceived social value by withholding all outward cues. The internal logic is straightforward. If you do nothing, you cannot do anything wrong. Projecting a state of absolute boredom becomes the safest way to guarantee zero social missteps. That cold, unapproachable demeanor is a meticulously calculated shield. It exists solely to protect a highly vulnerable, deeply engaged mind from making a critical error. Now imagine those two same people meet days later through a mutual friend. They are in a quiet, low-stakes environment, entirely removed from the high-pressure tension of that crowded room. In this relaxed setting, the truth finally comes out. The person who originally looked so bored admits they felt a profound, immediate attraction from the very first second they saw you. This exact scenario played out repeatedly during rigorous qualitative interviews conducted by social researchers. They spoke privately with subjects who had shown absolutely zero flirtation on hidden cameras, proving this stark discrepancy is a widespread social reality. This chart illustrates the inverse law of attraction. It maps visible signals against internal intensity. As signals drop to zero on the horizontal axis, internal intensity peaks on the vertical axis. Thus, individuals displaying the least outward interest frequently experience the highest internal emotional spike. Think back to the times you walked away from someone because they gave you a blank stare. If you apply this inverse metric, how many of those perceived rejections were actually moments of intense hidden engagement? Mastering human connection requires us to look past the illusion of surface-level stillness. Often the strongest human desires are perfectly hidden right in front of us, obscured entirely by a mask of total silence.